Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to take a spring garden tour of Mimi's house. Mimi, my mama, she lives just a little bit away from us, just a couple hundred yards, not far at all, but her garden is absolutely completely different than mine. She is a dry shade garden. There is not 1 ounce of irrigation in her garden, so everything that you see is either the result of her having to water it, the good Lord watering it, and most importantly, picking the right plants for her garden. We have been in Mimi's garden many times, and so you always love coming to Mimi's garden, no matter what the season may be. So we are going to be here today because the azaleas are blooming, whether it is the native azaleas behind me or just the good old great traditional southern azaleas, they too are blooming, plus so much more. Her garden is absolutely alive. In fact, as soon as I walked up to this little spot, I'm like, I don't know what it is, but something smells amazing. Something is absolutely in bloom and smells delicious. So I'm going to follow my nose and try to figure out what it is that is blooming and smelling delicious here in the garden. But yes, so Mimi and Poppy, my daddy, have lived in this house since the late 70s. In fact, they moved in like a month before I was born. So they have lived here for quite a few years, but it has really been just recently since Mimi retired. She was a first grade school teacher. So since she retired, she just dove into gardening. And so what you're gonna see is a lot has happened within, I would say probably the last 15 years. So when we're here in this garden, I want you to understand and appreciate, this is something that I have to teach myself, is that gardening teaches you patience. And it's beautiful in so many ways to come visit these mature gardens because the bones have been here for 40 plus years, almost close to 50 years. And so but she's constantly adding, tweaking, plants die, she moves them, she does all sorts of things with them. So she is constantly in her garden. She does not have any help in the garden. People ask, does somebody else help her and help her maintain this? No, Mimi does it 100% herself. Of course, Daddy is here too, but he's not so much of a gardener. Now, he will help her do some of the fun garden art, but as far as the actual gardening, she does it 100% herself. And so she is an absolute role model for me in many ways, but especially in this context of being a gardener and just pouring into your garden. What you put in, you're going to get out. And so I hope to give you lots of inspiration here in Mimi's garden. She is the queen of like garden art and does lots of fun things with that. So without further ado, let's try to figure out what the fragrance is and just have some fun walking through this dry shade garden in North Carolina, a zone 8A. We're going to start the garden tour a little different this time, show you some places that we've not seen before. But this is the edge of her sun garden. Her house is just over here to the left. We were just kind of standing over there. It's just right over here in this direction. But if you're coming to the nursery, you're leaving the nursery, you're visiting the nursery, you will see this area because, as you can see, there is the road right there. So when you leave, you can see this space a little bit better. This is as much sun, or the sunniest spot, rather, I should say, that Mimi has in her garden. It is on the edge of the walnut field. Very original because this field that separates kind of their property, it is still their property, but her yard from the nursery is this field of walnut trees that my daddy planted years ago. So very original. This is the walnut field. Gets the most sun. Right now, of course, it's in the shade. You can see where the sun's kind of creeping over to it. So she really tries to put all the plants that need the most sun here in this space. You will see that Mimi's garden is a very kind of natural, right? You're not going to see hardscaping. You're not going to see super hard defined borders, and she just lets the plants blend in with one another. She has a lot of plants that will naturalize and spread and just have lots of fun. Now, I am not going to be able to tell you every single plant that is in this garden. Remember, this is more about inspiration and thinking about design and ideas in that fashion. Now, she too has a bunny problem. I think we probably share the same bunnies, but she has got her alliums all down here on the front. And so the alliums tend to be a little bit more those deer resistant. So they are in here. She has got a beautiful iris that is just beginning to bloom. And so look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just that lovely pure white, gorgeous. She has got an agave. I'm pretty sure this was the agave. She had a huge one, like it was massive. And then a couple years ago, the freeze got it. These were some pups that had come off of it. So they look a little rough now, but they will be coming back nice and strong before you know it. She had a lot of bulbs in here, so you'll see some old, some foliage from the bulbs, but she loves, of course, the butterflies. So the echinaceas, those alliums, of course, bring in the pollinators. She has got some penstemons in here. Grasses. Mimi's a huge fan of grasses. She's got, looks like a Cleopatra canna lily in here. This is a fun one because it has all that great variegation in the leaves. So that's really fun. And then guara. So you can just kind of see all sorts of things that she has in here. Repeating, she has got some of, it looks to me like maybe the chartreuse on the loose nepeta. So that is beautiful mound. It is quite large. And then she has another one next door to it as well. Her baptisia is blooming. Look at that. Oh my gosh, gorgeous. My baptisias are not blooming yet. Of course, baptisias we love because they are a very long-lived perennial, have that great vase habit on it. So you can see that she has got some things growing underneath it. But those baptisias do great, and they're very drought tolerant because they have a very deep taproot. So that is really great for those baptisias. She has the Harry Lauder walking stick. If you're not familiar with the Harry Lauder walking stick, it is a shrub. Tends to be pretty dwarf. I have one in the backyard as well. Hers is nice and leafed out. But we love the Harry Lauders because they're contorted. I mean, they just have all sorts of fun shapes. Now, of course, when the leaves come out on it, it is a little harder to see how contorted it is. It is great for that winter interest. And so yeah, Harry Lauder walking stick is really fun. And it's great because it can even go in those spaces where you don't have a lot of height that can go in there. So that's lovely. This is what I'm talking about. So I never would have thought it, but my daddy has turned into quite the little yard art person and constructor. And so he has, Mama got one of the birdhouses. This is one of the heartwood birdhouses. And then he constructed the pole for her. So it's a metal pole. And then he just like attached all sorts of fun things to it. That looks like the bottom looks like one of the old off a bicycle, like over the tire, you know, like the fender. And then of course spray painted it. So lots of fun. So a lot of some of these garden art whimsies that you'll see in here, my daddy did do. Another thing, I don't know if you can see it, but can you see that orange birdhouse? So there's an orange one, and then over here on the magnolia tree, there is a purple one. So I mean, there's like everywhere that he built the little birdhouses and then painted them these bright, bold colors. Mimi and Poppy are not afraid of bold colors, which I love and appreciate. Look at this ice plant. Now, obviously it is not blooming, but do you see that low ground cover right there? Ice plant Delosperma is a very strong lived, it will spread, naturalize. This is a little excessive, but it is a great drought tolerant perennial that will flower. So Mimi really leans into what are those plants that are drought tolerant, can handle all of those conditions that are less than desirable. Also, my daddy is a woodworker, and so when he cuts down trees or does things with wood, he will often recycle things with Mama. And so they have this gorgeous stump that's just simply placed in the garden, right? She has grasses tucked around it. But yeah, I mean, just this old stump that is beautiful. I would love to have a gorgeous stump. Of course, with them, it makes a lot of sense because they've got so many trees here. It might look a little odd at my house because I don't have so many trees up around my house, but here I love it and I think it is absolutely fantastic. And then this border, I mean, just look at this view. Mimi has worked so hard on this area. I mean, all the areas, but this is one of my favorites. You can see the wind spinners are back there just spinning away in the wind. She has lots of those in her garden. Those come from Lyman Whitaker. He is an artist. I believe he's stationed or works out west, and so she got them from an art gallery in Biltmore. But you're going to see those throughout her gardens. But just to kind of walk through here, this is a massive clump of like black and blue salvia. So of course the hummingbirds go nuts over that. Another fun little piece of yard art with that blown glass there. Salvias, the salvias, she has got the bumblebees are all over it. She did leave the tag for me on this one. So this is the crystal blue from Proven Winners. Just gorgeous pops of blue. Still got some daffodils blooming there. More ice plant, right? And then her Amsonia back here, that is going to be the storm cloud. So she put those in nice groups of 4 of them right there. So that Amsonia is absolutely beautiful. Tons of grasses. Mimi loves grasses. I think that's probably where I inherited it from. So you're going to see lots of different kinds of grasses in her garden. Again, more salvias right here. This is probably the Indiglo Girl because look at those gorgeous colors on that. Just fantastic. So she does a great job of like succession blooms. So the salvia is blooming right now. And then later on, you will see she's got her Shasta daisies right here. So once the salvia is done, then the Shasta daisies kind of take over. She's got butterfly bushes, a different kind of Amsonia here. This is probably, it's either the old fashioned, the Amsonia hubrichtii. That's probably what that is. I don't see a tag. Normally Mimi does pretty good about putting tags on her plants. I don't see one here. And so, I mean, just look at that. I love it. Ajugas and wood hyacinths, and she's got all sorts of sweet dianthus in here and sedums. She's got that Winecraft gold smoke bush. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I love how she has a chartreuse next to that nice green of that grass that is there. Absolutely lovely. More birdhouses that Daddy has made for her. And then just coming on through some sort of like sedums, succulents through there. And yeah, absolutely just so much fun. Now, Mimi also's garden is like the queen of azaleas. And so, y'all, like, look at these. Is that not just unbelievable how the blooms are on these azaleas? Is that not fantastic? And these are just the great traditional azaleas, and she has them in a group of 3. So of course it makes a nice huge impact right here. That vibrant, just bright pink is absolutely lovely. And then one thing that she did, I'm telling you, she is the queen of whimsy. So back in the day when you used to get a newspaper, this was their newspaper box. And Daddy, again, spray painted it for her. And she uses this as her little tool collector. So that way she doesn't have to worry about, you know, if she's out in the garden just walking, she's got clippers, she's got a saw, she has got a little trowel, she has got all sorts of things in there. So it's just a fun little way to have like a little tool storage in the garden for her. And yeah, so that's really neat. And then she has a gazebo that Daddy built. And these are only 2 plants, y'all. 2 plants that are covering this entire gazebo. This is Confederate jasmine, and she is about to burst forth in blooms. All that vibrant green foliage is brand new. There are buds all over it, and I cannot wait until this thing blooms, because that is going to be an absolute spectacular display, both visually and for the old nose, the old sniffer. It is going to be fantastic. A theme that you're going to notice in Mimi's garden is that she has pretty much found the plants that absolutely thrive in her garden, and she leans into that really heavily. So of course, being underneath these lovely pine trees, the hydrangeas do great. Now she has a couple of panicles, but most of them are going to be like either the oak leaf or the the macrophylla, and she does have serratas as well. This is a ruby slippers. Ruby slippers is supposed to be a petite hydrangea. Y'all, she is every bit of petite in the fact that she's short. She's probably about 4.5 feet tall. But the width on that thing, I would say, is about 7 feet. So it is massive, but she already has buds forming. Look at that. I love it. So this ruby slippers is absolutely gorgeous in here. Then she has another oak leaf. I'm not sure if this is ruby slippers. She has one here as well. She is also great about putting little, anywhere she can put a plant, she's going to do it. So she did her containers. She has some super bells in here. Again, this is going to be the sunniest area that she gets, and so they get enough sun that they will thrive in here. Mimi does a lot. She is a master gardener, so she's part of the local master gardener group. They used to do not quite as much now, but she used to go on a ton of trips with them, local garden centers, visiting kind of things, and so she would find a lot of cute yard art there. So some of these are from her travels, and then yet some of them are, again, like my daddy's creation. He built her a birdhouse, and then that is on the auger of some sort of old farm machinery. So he has that for her. And then, of course, she was the one that introduced me to the one-eared cow. It is an art gallery in Columbia, South Carolina. They just do great indoor, outdoor stained glass, both art and for actual functionality. And so these are some of the ones that she had gotten from the one-eared cow. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, what are some of the things that Mimi struggles with in her garden? One, dry shade. That's enough. But also, she has a problem with voles. I mean, they will go in and just absolutely destroy some of her yard overnight. So she has a lot of the wire cages around, especially like her hostas. So she first started building them herself. And so you can see, let me back up just a little bit on this hosta. So you can see, this is the one that she was building herself using what we call like hardware cloth, chicken wire, that kind of thing. But it was extremely time consuming, physically hard, because this is not easy to bend. So she was doing that, and then discovered the Vole King. And the Vole King, these are wire mesh bags that you actually plant the hosta in, or any kind of plant in, and so they're much more pliable. They come in different sizes, so that has been a huge saver for her as far as like energy and time, and then just efficiency. Might be a little bit easier to see it on this sweet little hosta right here. So they're much more, maybe the sun's not cooperating, much more pliable, and it literally is a bag that is made out of metal. And so you put the plant in there, and then you just bury it, leave a little bit, and so they cannot get through. So that has saved her a ton on her hostas. And then look at this. Like, y'all, let's just appreciate how everything just kind of goes together. The colors, the textures, the different plants. She's got ferns popping up. It'll be amazing how much this will fill in, especially like for the signature experience, because that is part of it, is that you get to come take a tour of Mimi's garden with Mimi herself. Here she has, of course, the Savannah urn from Unique Stone that has yet another one of those pieces from One-Eared Cow, and hostas and ferns in it. Just lovely. Just great. So hydrangeas are a big thing for Mimi, and then of course azaleas. So like I said, when we started, we have the native azaleas. There looks like they're kind of on the end of their bloom cycle, especially this pink one. But we love those native azaleas because they give us such gorgeous color, and this might be what the fragrance is. Let me put my little sniffer up to it. Nope, that's not it. I'm gonna have to be on a search to figure out what it is. But she has, don't worry about colors. Yes, she has pale pink next to bright flaming orange. I mean, like, look at this. Look at that. Is that not just exquisite? And this shrub is every bit of 8 feet tall, I would say. All sorts of like, then we have a nice softer kind of a peachy melon, a melon color. Look at that. Again, kind of towards on the end of the bloom cycle. That's all right. So hydrangeas galore. She's got tons of them. But like I said, they're the Max, they're the oak leaf hydrangeas, just tons of them. So in the summer, this is an unbelievable, gorgeous oasis. Now, these azaleas, I believe we were here in the late summer, early fall, and Mimi had, I mean, completely whacked these azaleas back. I am talking about severe. These azaleas are probably as old as I am. So we're talking about 47 years old. I mean, they are old. And again, just the traditional great ones. My grandmother got a great sale on 1 gallon azaleas back in the 70s. She loaded her car up and brought them to Mama. And so these have quite a story. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. As Mama said, they're probably not as stunning as they can be. Give them 1 more year. Next year, they're going to be unbelievable. So that's the thing about gardens, right? You're constantly working these gardens. A garden is never, quote, finished, right? We're always tweaking, we're always adapting, we're always changing, we're always doing some things. And don't be afraid if something's not working, change it up, right? If it's not happy in a location, move it. Absolutely. Mimi is like the queen of moving plants. So if it's struggling, she'll give it some time. She'll give it the TLC. Still not doing good. Out it comes. She's going to move it to a different spot. Pruning. Do not be afraid to prune. Yes, maybe there's more optimal times to prune, but if you're thinking long term, Mimi was thinking long term on these azaleas when she cut them back. And I think she cut back all of her azaleas in the entire garden, which is a lot of azaleas. Cut them back. Yes, this year they did bloom. They're beautiful, but they're not premium, right? But that's okay because she's thinking long term. They had gotten so massive, they had to be brought down. So pruning is probably one of those #1 things that gardeners just get really anxious about, especially a new gardener. So don't be afraid to prune those plants. Pruning is a good thing for sure. So Mimi definitely, she is the queen of pruning. And also, like, look at this behind my shoulder. Look, how fun is that, right? Got a whole nother little display of stumpery right here. These were logs that Daddy and Mama had found somewhere, did them upright, then put one of those wind spinners there in the middle of it. Typically, once the season gets going, she has hostas that are in containers, and so she will put them on top of the stumps, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And then, of course, she has the plants down there in the bottom. All right. Let's move on to another spot. Speaking of pots, Mimi, again, queen of the container gardening because she deals with those pesky voles. When she puts a plant in a container, then they can't get to it. So you're going to see a lot of containers. I mean, and she mixes them, right? So she's got 2 hostas, a pulmonaria, and then a hydrangea in here. Groups them together, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So what ties it all in together is that the pots are the same color. So you can have completely different plantings in that container, but the pots are all the same color, and so they blend really well together. Also, Mimi typically will put just 1 plant in a container. She doesn't typically do a ton of like mixed containers. That way she can control the water really well. And another tip is that you will notice that these pots are all sitting on bricks. The bricks are turned sideways. This way they can drain really well because with our clay soil and with probably any containers, when they sit flat on the ground, the plant can send its roots into the ground, then causes that hole, that drainage hole to get plugged up. And then your plants can drown because the water can't flow out. So that's a little tip that she does. She puts them up on some sort of stone and then tries to hide it, as best she can with the pine needles. And yes, Mimi has tons of pine needles because she has tons of pine trees. So she doesn't buy pine needles. Oh my word, no. She just uses what the Lord gives her. And for the most part, it just falls where it does. And then she kind of cleans it out of her flower beds. But yeah, so there is the only grass that they have are out in the fields. There's no grass in their yard. They gave up years ago trying to grow grass because it just simply is not enough sun. So more examples of the gorgeous azaleas that she has that were all taken severely back. And then her little collection of pots right through here. She's got eucharis, she's got hostas, right? Another chip. So she's got tons of these little terracotta pots. So she flips one of them upside down, uses it as a little stand to raise them up. And then there you go. This is also kind of like her little holding place. It's the nursery for her. And so you can see some plants that are still in their nursery pots. When she figures out where they're going to go, then she will plant them. She also does a lot of great rehabbing for me with my plants as well. But look at that. Look how the elevation, right? So again, we have all sorts of different things. Most of them are hostas in these containers. Not one container is the exact same, but they're all in that natural stone, that terracotta. And then she has them like, but look at the graduation from the very short on the bottom all the way up, and has them tucked in among the azaleas. There's no way you could ever have hostas like this shot of azaleas and hostas this height if you didn't raise them up. And they're all different levels, so everybody gets their own time in the spotlight, right? And gorgeous, like stunning. It is things like this that inspire me. Now, again, Mimi and I could not have vastly different gardens. Like, they could not be more different. We have very different gardens. Situation, sun exposure, I have irrigation, she has no irrigation. I'm in full sun pretty much. She is in full shade, filtered shade. But this inspires me. So don't think, oh, well, this is just a video on a shade garden, I'm not going to learn anything. Oh no, honey, you can learn a ton of things. We take an idea and we apply it to our garden. So I look at this and I think, okay, what would be a fun area in my garden to do a collection of pots, whether I want to do perennials or I want to do annuals. It doesn't matter what the plant is inside of it. It doesn't matter what the container is, but this idea of raising them up amongst higher shrubs around it. Love it so much. I've shared with you quite a few times that Mimi loves aspidistra. Aspidistra is that great drought-tolerant evergreen perennial that loves the shade. Cast iron plants. So she has quite the collection of cast iron plants and hellebores. So she has tons of hellebores. Most of hers are the old-timey ones that will naturalize. So you're going to see a ton of those. But as we come down this path, she has got all kinds of aspidistra. So here we have one that has the speckles on it. I see a tag. Let's see if I can look at it. This is Haze Stars. But you can see the coloring on that, right? Has more, now whether it's supposed to or not, I don't know, but it has more of a kind of a weeping habit to it. Whereas this is just that great old traditional aspidistra, very upright on that. And then she has them kind of going all the way down. Then this one is really cool. Don't know that there's a name on it, but look at the coloring on this, y'all. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So you've got the stripes going up, and then there's speckles. Whether, again, they're supposed to be speckles or not, I don't know. But it is absolutely gorgeous. So lean into those plants that, that do well in your garden. And oh, I've never seen this one before, y'all. Look at this. So again, this is from my daddy as far as the bench, the log. So he cut that on the sawmill. And then she has a collection of unique stone pots with all sorts of little, she's got most of these are like the little mini hostas. Look at that. And then she has two that have aspidistras down there on the end. I love it. So stinking cute. This is the driveway coming into their house. This is like the back, how we come in the back door, which is of course the main door, as a good southern house is, right? But this is the high visibility area. And like these hydrangeas, these are just the traditional macrophylla hydrangeas, nothing fancy, but man, when they are in bloom, oh my gosh, unbelievable. I think we were here last summer when they were blooming. absolutely spectacular. And then this is, of course, a spot that used to be grass, is no longer grass, but is a garden. And here she has 3 of the Tough Stuff hydrangeas. Oh my gosh, y'all. Can you see all of those buds? Dear heavens, it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous display of flowers. I'm laughing because Rosie, who is their Doberman, hey Rosebud, she came sashaying over to me. So we have Rosie. So Rosie and Brenna, cousin dogs, you could say, I guess. So they kind of have a love-hate relationship with each other. And so Brenna is currently leashed in Johnny because I knew that she would go after Rosie. And so, yeah, anyway, I digress. But these hydrangeas are going to be unbelievable. Last year, they were unbelievable. So if you have an area that is problematic, I want you to try Tough Stuff. It is a great serrata. It can handle that filtered sun. They're pH dependent. Last year, we had pinks, blues, purples, all on the same plant. This is an area that was a problem for Mama for quite a few years. Is because she wanted to have hydrangeas here, right? Why not? Let's have some gorgeous color right here. So she had tried some macrophyllus and they kind of burned up. Like they got too much sun. They didn't do well. Then she tried some panicles. Well, they didn't flower because they didn't get enough sun. So then she was like, one last try. So she went for the serratas, the mountain hydrangeas, those gorgeous lace caps. Clearly, they have just absolutely thrived in this area. I mean, they are unbelievable when they bloom. So this is an example of don't give up. If you want to plant, you just have to keep working it and finding it. Gardening is nothing but one big science experiment, and you have to constantly be kind of exploring your options, trying different things, what will work, what doesn't work. Oftentimes we learn most from things that are unsuccessful as opposed to being successful, and so just go for it. Remember, gardening is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be enjoyable. I know that this is a huge source of enjoyment and joy for my mama. It is her physical exercise because, my dear heavens, I can't keep up with the woman. And so it is a labor of love, but this is what she enjoys. And the fruits, I mean, gosh, are just unlimited in this garden. So if you're coming to the Signature Experience at the end of June, you're going to take a tour of this garden when it is in its prime. Mimi is going to be the one giving it to you. So you get to meet Mimi. You get to talk with Mimi. People will ask, well, why is Mimi not on? You know, we would love to have her on video. You know, some people just don't want to be on camera, and that is okay. We respect people's wishes. And so while Mimi is super personable and loves talking to people, she just doesn't want to be on camera. And so I fully respect that. So that's why I do these tours kind of solo, and I'm so appreciative, as always, for Mama. Thank you, for coming to your garden. And as always, if you have found this fun, informative, inspirational, make sure you like and subscribe so that way you don't miss the 5 videos that we do each and every week. Y'all have an amazing day. I'm going to go take some of these ideas and put them in my garden. See you next time, friends. Bye.